Martinez, an editor and reporter with The Today. Today I'm here with Dr. Andreas Mueller, the new Dean of College of Humanities, Arts, and Social Sciences. So first, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and your life and career before you came to CSU Pueblo?
Well, hi Gabi. First of all, thanks for taking the time to talk to me. I've been on quite the journey, I have to say, right? You can probably hear in my accent that I'm not from around here. I was born and raised in Germany, and when I was 19 years old, I decided to move to England in order to go to university there. So I spent 25 years there altogether, going through the different stages of finalizing, completing degrees, and then becoming a professor over there. And then some 7 years ago, I came over to Colorado to work at the University of Northern Colorado as a department chair, and then from there to MSU Denver, and then last year I spent a year in Connecticut as a dean, and I joined CSU Pueblo last July as the dean of Chaz.
That is quite a journey.
Mm-hmm.
So what motivated you to pursue this role here at CSU Pueblo?
Well, I mean, first of all, CSU Pueblo is in Colorado, and I was really quite desperate to come back to Colorado. I love Colorado. I love living here. I like the mountains where I grew up. It's really flat. It's near the Dutch border. I don't know if you know European geography, so it's super flat there. So I really fell in love with the mountains, and when the position came up here at CSU Pueblo, I figured that I really wanted to come back, and specifically in terms of CSU Pueblo, what I like about it is that it's a minority kind of focused institution as an HSI, right? And I previously worked at universities like that. I also like the fact that it's actually a really kind of compact regional institution that really pursues the idea of opening up access to higher education for all sorts of groups of people, right? That speaks to me. I'm a working class first generation student myself, right? So I'm quite invested in institutions like this and helping the types and kinds of students that typically come to places like CSU Pueblo. So that's what attracted me to this position.
What are some of your specific goals for the college you hope to fulfill during your time as Dean of Chaz?
That's a good question. There's a whole range of goals I think that we need to pursue as a college, but the main one is perhaps focused on career relevance and career preparation. That's actually something that's become really dominant in the field. Like all the institutions are focusing on that much more now, rightly so I think, but in particular in colleges like ours, right, where you have the humanities, arts and social sciences, we really have to be proactive in terms of tackling what it means to be career relevant as a program, right, and how we enable our students to talk about what they learned in their program, so that then when they go out there and try to secure employment, they know how to present to the employer that what they learned here at CSU Pueblo in Chaz is actually something that's really valuable to the employers. And I say this because I was previously an English professor before I joined full-time administration, right? And the thing that we had to confront for a long time as a discipline is that English literature in particular is kind of very nice, right? You become learned, you read a lot of books and so on, but how does that ever get you a job? In fact, my own parents, when I told them I was going to be an English major, were highly skeptical about what that would do for me, right? So for quite some time, I've been kind of grappling with the idea of how do we communicate to the outside world, what disciplines like English or history, text reading-based disciplines do for you, and kind of finding answers to that really has to be a central project for us in class, right? So for English, for example, what I would say there is that we need to reframe, for example, when a student studies a 300-page novel, right? That is not just looking at, what did the author mean to say with this, but it's actually thinking about the novel as an enormous data set, right? Every word is an item of information, and in combination, it creates a bigger, larger unit of information, and being able to run targeted analyses of this text in order to answer different questions are actually kind of key critical thinking skills that employers really value, right? So that is just an illustration of like what I think our larger project in Chaz has to be.
You. What are some of the greatest What are some of the greatest strengths that you have seen as you've started your role here?
So the first thing that I've noticed about CSU Pueblo, the campus, and the people here is that they're really very friendly, and that there's a real sense of community, right? You know, wherever you go, you get the sense of that people are kind of doing something together, whether it's faculty and staff and students or even higher administration, that, you know, there is a real focus on student success here, and constantly revisiting the idea of, and the question, I suppose, of why do we do what we do, and how does it serve our students, right? How does it help them to be successful now while the students here, but also once they've graduated in the hopefully very happy, long, successful lives that they're going to have afterwards, right? So, and I think kind of focusing on that also helps us really to kind of group together to think about what are our individual roles within all of this, right? So this sense of community and having a common purpose, I think, is a real strength here on this campus.
Awesome. Are there any challenges that you've noticed?
Yes.
What would some of the challenges be?
I mean, the challenges are always many, right? And higher education has, I think, over the last decade at least, if not a little longer, faced a whole bunch of challenges. Most of them are actually connected to budget, you know, to how much is available in terms of financial resources. And you may know that more recently some grants have been cut and so on. So all the universities are really trying to figure out right now how do we make up for the funds that have disappeared, right? You know, and how do we perhaps have to redistribute the funds that we have to be really intentional and focused in the way in which we deploy our resources, right? And as I said, that's no different on this campus. So that's always a challenge, right? Because in my position as a dean, you also have to be able to zoom out and look at the college as a whole, right? And ensure that with the resources that you have, you can give as much as possible to everyone so that they can actually meet the needs that they have, right? And that means sometimes you have to make some difficult decisions, right, in terms of redistributing funds and all that kind of stuff. And at other times, it also means that you have to say, sorry, no, we have to reprioritize here for this particular reason. And then there are also times where you do have some money and you can say, yes, please do this project, because it really is going to make things better for our students and for everyone. So that's what I would say in response to that question.
Awesome. What are some of the pillars that define your strategy as a leader in academia?
You're asking big questions here today. So I would say that in a leadership position, I often, like almost consistently, always try to put myself into the shoes, into the positions of the people that I am leading, right? Who I try to support and so on, and try to figure out kind of what does it look like from their perspective, right? And I was faculty myself for long enough to understand what that looks like, and I was a student for long enough, right, to still remember what that looks and feels like. So I suppose one of the pillars is actually stepping outside of your role and seeing things and problems and opportunities too, right, from different angles and from different perspectives. So that is one of the pillars, I think, in terms of how I like to approach my own leadership. Another one is talking to people and talking to them frequently, because that's really the only way you properly find out where they're at in terms of, you know, their jobs, the things that we expect of them, but also what they need in order to be able to do that. So that's a real, I think, a key strategy to keep communicating with everyone. Even if that involves more difficult conversations, right? You have to keep talking about these things in order to figure out what's the way forward here. The other thing that I think that allows you, talking a lot to people, that allows you to do is kind of get underneath the surface a little bit more, right? Because emails are one thing, and we communicate a lot via email, but you know, email can also be misleading, only tell half the story, but if you actually take the time to talk to people, sometimes you find out that what they think their pressing problem is not really the central problem. There's something else going on, and if you fix that, what they think is the key problem here will actually kind of resolve itself, right? And you more often than not figure that out by having these kinds of conversations. So I guess, in terms of management speak, I like to be consultative and kind of collectively try to find solutions for the various challenges, right, that we face. And clarity. I also really value clarity, because when I was a faculty member and also department chair, there are not many more things that I dislike than a lack of clarity in terms of what I'm expected to do, what I've been told to do. So I try to always be as clear as possible in terms of my own expectations and goal setting and all these kinds of things.
Thank you. What have you enjoyed most about the Pueblo community or the community here on campus outside of your day-to-day role, like any places or events?
So one of the recent events that I attended was the music department's choir, who gave a performance in a church downtown here in Pueblo. And it was actually the first music event that I had the chance to attend, and I was actually blown away. The choir was amazing. I think they performed probably for about an hour and 20 minutes, in different kind of configurations and so on. I was really rather enthusiastic about the whole event afterwards, and made sure to kind of go around everybody who performed to congratulate them personally. I'm a low-key guitar player, so anything to do with music is like, wow, that's really cool, right? So that's an event that I really enjoyed recently. Other than that, what have I enjoyed about being on campus here? That kind of connects to your earlier question about, what the strengths are here on this campus. Just kind of walking around and chatting to people. Clearly, I'm a chatty fella. And just, just in a sense, I know this sounds really informal, but just like hanging out, right? Like, how's it going? Chit chat, find things out. Just enjoying how friendly everybody is on campus. Those sorts of things kind of energize me and make it fun to be here.
Well, thank you. What do you want students to know about who you are and how you plan to lead CHAS here at CSU Pueblo? It's kind of...
Yeah, I think I've kind of touched on a bunch of points that one could offer in response to that. What would I like students to know about me? That if they want to talk to me about their experience here on campus, whatever that might be, that my door is always open.
Awesome.
I might be in a meeting. They have to wait a few minutes. I'm mostly in meetings nowadays, but at least kind of metaphorically speaking, right? My door is always open. They should really reach out and get hold of me and bring to me whatever they want to talk to me about, right? So I can assist them or just learn about what's on their minds and so on. How do I intend to lead CHAS in the way, I guess, that I've described already, but also I don't think I'm particularly authoritarian as a leader, so it's much more a case of like, I don't know, a friend to everyone, but no best friend to anyone. Do you know what I mean? So like I'm there for everyone. That's my job, to support everyone here in the college and beyond as well, right? I work with all sorts of people beyond the college too. Yeah.
Okay, last one's fun. Is there a surprising or fun fact about you that you could share with us that people might not know?
Well, I don't know if it's fun. I referenced briefly that I play the guitar a little bit, right? And when I was 18, 19, 20, 21, I was entirely convinced that I was going to be a major rock star in a rock band. This is going back a little while. I'm no longer 28, I found out recently. And at that time, I would dress accordingly and also sport really long, very curly hair. And my parents were appalled. So that's what they should know, because I was also trying to be a little bit of a rebel, and now that now I'm in this kind of job, and they still can't believe like what I guess I turned into. But yeah, I had leather trousers that were like kind of had ties on the side, and long hair, and whatever band T-shirts, Metallica, something like that, right? And would walk around my small rural town in Germany like that. I don't know if that's fun.
It's interesting.
But it's the truth. That happened. True story.
Thanks for tuning in to our conversation with the new deans. You can follow us for more at socostudentmedia.com.